Hi guys, so recently I got the Aerosoft A320 add-on from Aerosoft Simulations. It looks more or less like this. It's a very nice add-on. If you like Airbus aircraft, then it's very realistic. It's just realistic enough to be able to be flown on VATSIM and similar networks without any major, issues. And sort of not complex enough as to completely confuse you when you first get it and first transition from maybe some of the freeware aircraft you've been using or other options. This one's in the EasyJet livery, so and I wanted to show you today how to start up this beautiful aircraft from cold and dark. So when you spawn in like this, which is turnaround state. You've got, all the instruments are calibrated, all your batteries are on, etc. And what you want to do is go here to the right MCDU, or the first officer's MCDU, click on Aircraft State, and just click Cold and Dark, and it turns everything off, basically. And actually, so once this is done, the aircraft is basically dead. It's literally frozen. It's cold and dark, as the name suggests, and basically the first thing you want to do is go up here onto your overhead panel and turn on these two batteries, and then click on the external power. Since it's available, we'll use that as our sort of temporary APU kind of thing. So that's going to power all our generators and stuff, and once that's done, you see some of the aircraft's functions are running. And at this point, you might want to turn up the floodlights so you can actually see something. So you can see you've got your FCU up and running, you've got your MCDUs down here, your secondary instruments are running. And now what you want to do is turn up the brightness on your PFD and your ND, and also on your ICAS, or ECAM, or I don't know what they call them in Airbus, I think it's ECAM. Your ECAM displays right here, so you can see something on them. Now, this looks as if it's done, but as you can see here on our primary displays, you can see that there's nothing being displayed, and it says map not available. So basically what you have to do now is you have to go up here to your overhead panel. So here's the overhead panel view, and we have to turn on the IRS, which is up here. Now basically what the IRS is the inertial reference system, which is sort of a way to figure out the position of the aircraft based on the Earth's rotation, which it measures for like 5 minutes. And basically how you turn this on is you have to flick each of these 3 switches to nav. However, you have to wait until it goes off the battery so that you can turn on the next one. So on, wait that, spears, on, and there we go. So now the IRS is turned on, and if you go back to your virtual cockpit, you'll see it will say IRS in alignment in 5 minutes. So you just wait 5 minutes. During that 5 minutes, you can turn on your APU. So you click the master switch, and then since the APU is like a mini jet engine, you have to wait for the air inlet to open. So once you get the flap open message, then you can actually start your APU, excuse me. So the APU will start booting up and will be up and running pretty soon. You want to turn on the APU bleed so that you have some air conditioning, and you should disconnect ground power because you don't need it anymore. The aircraft goes silent, but it will go, it'll start running in a second again. You want to go to ground services and disconnect the GPU here. Now what you want to do is go to doors. Since your left door is open, you can call up the jetway to start boarding your to enable boarding of any passengers you might want. And you might want to open the cargo doors if necessary as well. So I actually have a GSX add-on, so it's I can like request all this stuff, but I'm not going to do it now because that's beyond the scope of this video. What you can do now while the IRS is aligning is go to your load and fuel page and enter some basic data on this flight. So you can see that you've got passengers, cargo, and fuel. So say we're carrying 144 passengers, then we'll just type 144 in the MCDU keypad and just click that button next to there, and it will just fill that up. Now, as you can see, boarding turns orange, which means that boarding is available. So you click that, and the passengers will start boarding. And over here it will show you the live sort of boarding figures, how many people are on the aircraft. Same thing goes for cargo. Say we're carrying 5 metric tons, you just put that there. I don't know why I can't do that right now. Fuel, same thing. This actually, you have to do this before you do this. You have to, set up your flight plan and all that using like SimBrief or whatever, and it'll throw some numbers at you. So on my last flight, I carried 10 metric tons. So say I put that in, and then same thing goes here. So you can start fueling up, and it will show you the live fuel figures over there. If you don't want to wait for this to finish, then you just click instant, but we are going to wait. Next thing is you might want to start programming your flight plan. So you go to initial, and you enter your route. So say we're flying from Geneva. Where's Golf? Lima Sierra Golf to, which is the ICAO for Geneva, to say Frankfurt, which I hate flying to, but hey. Echo Delta Delta Foxtrot. Boom. No company routes. So we just click back. Enter your flight numbers. Say we're easy. Or top Swiss actually, because we're in Switzerland. So EasyJet Switzerland, top Swiss. Top Swiss 56 Tango Victor. Sounds like a cool call sign. Cost index 90. It's a standard cost index, but it depends on which aircraft you're using. You would enter a different cost index. I believe the flight plan generators such as SimBrief also calculate this for you. And then you also enter your flight level, cruising flight level. Say we were cruising at flight level 330. So you just put that in, and it automatically throws a temperature at you. At this point you can check if your IRS has been aligned. It's not aligned yet. It's going to be aligned in 2 minutes. So what you want to do now is go here to your flight plan page, and basically what you want to do is start programming your flight plan. Now you would do this in accordance with what the flight planner dispatcher shows to you. So you just look at the paper and say, okay, well, we're departing from runway, I don't know, 22. This is now 22, this is updated. And you would select a departure route. Say, I usually fly the Mollis 3 Alpha departure. This is a nice departure. And it will enter the whole departure sequence for you, and then you would have to manually enter all the waypoints from there. Frankfurt, arrivals, I like ILS 25 center, ILS 25 left maybe. And we can fly the Rolis 1 Sierra Lima arrival. Apparently it's a good arrival, and you click that and it automatically enters the arrival sequence for you as well. Now what you can do to remove all these annoying discontinuities is just click clear. Now normally you would actually have to manually program the waypoints in between the departure and the arrival routes. However, we're not going to do that here because we're not actually flying. So for the purpose of that, I'm just going to click clear and erase that, insert, and then go to the second one, clear, and insert. You can modify this in flight, by the way, so it doesn't really matter. IRS alignment, 1 minute, and IRS is aligned. So now you go here, align IRS, and if you look into your displays, you've got readings. You've got your primary flight display with your altitude there and your speed. Now normally you would also check the ATIS for the QNH, but I'm pretty sure the QNH here is like 1006 or something. And then it adjusts the altimeter for that. Then you get on your navigation display, you have your entire route displayed. You can check that via the plan and then kind of scrolling through it. But there is your thing. You can also activate your terrain radar, but I mean you're on the ground, so it's not much use. It's not of much use on the ground. So yeah, at this point you might want to start closing your doors. So you go to aircraft doors, you close the front left door, and you tell the jetway goodbye by pressing Control J. So the jetway will go away now, and the front left door should be closing. And if it doesn't close via here, you can just press Shift E and it closes. There we go. Now we go to load and fuel. Check if our fuel is still. Yep. Okay, we can just click instant. There we go. Return. And now what we can do is start turning the engines on. So you go up here and you check that everything is alright. So since the Airbus A320 has a dark cockpit philosophy, which means that if there's anything that's sort of lit up in the cockpit, that means there's something wrong with it, or there's something happening with it. So, for example, our APUs are up and running, so which means it's, you know, it's indicating to us that our APU is running and that we have APU bleed. All these other systems are on because there's nothing wrong with them. However, if you turn them off, then you see these white lights that say off, and these are hydraulic pumps and fuel pumps. So to turn the engines on, you have to turn off these generators first, because otherwise they go crazy. You can simply, as long as all of this is in order, which it is, and as long as your engine thing is fine with all the fuel and stuff, then you go here, you right click on that so it says ignition start, and then just click on engine 1, and then you should watch your N2 go up pretty fast and your N1 at a slightly lower rate, and then your RPM, your EGT should start rising as well. Now make sure, before you do this, make sure that your thrust levers are idle, that your parking brake is set so you don't go crashing back into the terminal suddenly. So once you've got that for engine 1, you can start doing the same thing for engine 2. Now normally you would wait until one of the engines has started and then you would turn on the second one, but that doesn't really matter, to be honest. The noise you just heard was the rudder control unit getting itself calibrated. Alright, so engine 1 is fine, and engine 2 is fine as well. So now what you want to do is you want to turn on these generators, because they are the engine generators, because the engines act as the power plant of the aircraft. Then you want to turn on the fuel pumps for the engines so that you don't die. You can turn off APU bleed, however keep the APU on for now. And once the engines have stabilized at a certain EGT and a certain, you know, I mean, it's fine if they're slightly off, but it's just make sure they're stabilized. You switch back to mode norm, or normal mode. Now what you want to do is go to your ECAM menu here, go to status, check normal, press recall to make sure that it updates itself. Check all your doors, all your, you know, electricals, all that, just to make sure that everything's running properly and nothing's, you know, you have no error messages or anything. And at this point, the aircraft is ready to go. You can turn on your beacon lights and your navin lights and your wing lights and your seatbelts on as well. You can turn on anti-ice if required, and window heat if required. And this is what the aircraft looks like from outside. Pretty loud. And now what you would do at this point is start taxiing. So I'm going to do that actually. So to start taxiing, you once you get your taxi clearance, you turn on you switch the nose light to taxi, and you get a nice illuminated path here. I usually increase my thrust to about the R or the H here on the thrust, and I release the parking brake. And then you would use either your rudder pedals or the sort of joystick that kind of swivels about as your rudder control. I have a joystick, so I'm going to use that. I don't have rudder pedals for my yoke yet, but I do have a yoke. And yeah, so you just taxi out of the gate, and you are now taxiing an Airbus A320. So that's how you go from cold and dark to ready for taxi. Thanks for watching, and I hope to make some more videos like this on Flight Sim. So yeah, bye-bye.